Okay, we're going to continue our discussion about life cycle nutrition with toddlers through the late years. All right. Um, okay. What are the issues associated with feeding young children? So we got two age groups of young children, toddlers, which are between 1 and 3 years, and preschoolers, 3 to 5 years. They're still growing fairly rapidly, but a lot slower than they were when they were infants. So at this point, the average weight gain and height gain per year for year one and older is about 5 pounds and 2.5 to 3.5 inches every year. So quite a lot less growth than we were seeing with our infants. And they're going to have smaller appetites and lower calorie needs relative to infants, even though they're moving around more, they're just not growing quite as fast. So energy needs are lower and calorie needs are lower. Little kids, again, they're not as hungry, so they need to eat smaller meals more frequently with lots of nutrient-rich foods. They're very active, they have small stomachs, and they eat less at a particular meal time. So daily calorie needs for ages 2 to 3, about 1,000 to 1,400 calories a day. So you want to focus on, they're eating fewer calories and they're eating smaller amounts of food, but you want to focus on getting all those really important nutrients packed into those foods. So lean meats, eggs, poultry, dairy, beans, fruits, veggies, and whole grains are really important for the little ones to get all those good nutrients in the smaller packages. All right. Moving on, this is showing children through adolescent years as far as like calorie needs. A lot of times calorie needs are going to be dependent upon activity level once we get into the older ages, more than they are for like little kids, because little kids are fairly active anyway. But once you reach that kind of adolescent phase, a lot of it's going to be based on sex, genetic sex of the person, and activity levels. So there's all of that information for you. With kiddos, you want to be mindful of portion size so that we're not overfeeding. So you want to use child-sized cups and plates and bowls and things like that. And again, tailoring the portions to the child's needs. By the time they're 15 months old, so just a little over a year old, they should be feeding themselves using a cup and a spoon. Again, you want to avoid choking hazards like whole grapes. You want to cut your grapes in half. Nuts are choking hazards. Hard candies, anything with seeds like popcorn seeds, raisins, are small and can be choked upon fairly easily. Again, raw carrots. With carrots, if you're going to give your kid carrots, you want to make sure like maybe they're at least steamed a little bit so they're a bit softer because they're kind of hard. Kids don't have that many teeth and they don't chew things all that well. So you want to make sure that you're giving them things that they can easily chew up so that they don't choke. You want to make sure that they're not lying down when they're eating, and you should not feed a kid while riding in the car either for choking hazards like bumps can cause them, going over a pothole or something might cause them to choke, and you're not in a position to help them. So you want to be careful for that. As far as special nutrient needs for little ones, extra calcium, those bones are growing, so you want to get extra calcium in their diet. You can do that through milk. Soy milk is often fortified with calcium, and a lot of times juice can also be calcified or can be fortified with calcium. You want to make sure they get enough iron. So iron deficiency can lead to lots of problems. Milk, if you have too much milk in the diet, there's not a lot of iron in it, and it's taking the place of iron-rich foods, so you want to make sure there's adequate iron in the diet. Providing lean meats and iron-fortified cereals is a good way to do that. A lot of times young kids will go through these like jags where they like don't want meat. So if your kid is in that phase where they're not really wanting to eat meat, just try to make sure they're getting iron-fortified grains instead. Extra vitamin D, again, along with the calcium for bone growth. Fiber is important, starting off with little ones to make sure that they don't get constipated, because constipation is no fun for an adult. It's really not fun for a little one either. And then getting enough fluids is really important. You want to stick to water and milk. You can get fruit juices. You can get water fluids through, the food that you're eating as well. So in fruits and vegetables. With juice, though, you want to limit the juice because, again, it's a lot of sugar. Even if it's 100% pure fruit juice, it still is high in sugars. So you want to limit that to like 4 to 6 ounces a day. If your kid wants some juice, a good way to give them juice is to give them a little bit of juice and then mix it with some water to water it down a bit. So they're not getting all of that like shot of sugar, that can affect their dental health and all of that stuff as well. All right. Like I said, little kids can be picky eaters and they can go on these food jags where they will only eat certain things. So you basically, are kind of picking your battles as a parent. You're in control of what type of food they're offered and when and where they're offered food. Um, so, you know, just because your kid doesn't want to eat a particular food doesn't mean that you have to then offer them like, they want donuts. Well, you can't have donuts. That's not an option right now because, I'm the adult and you're the child and I'm in control of what you want. So you're in control of what you offer, when and where you offer that food. Children are in control of whether they eat it or not and how much of it they eat. So again, serve as good role models, offer healthy food choices, you do the same thing, eat a nice, healthy, varied diet. And again, food jags are often temporary, but there are things where kids will, like my nieces and nephews like went through phases where they would literally only eat fruit. They didn't want to eat anything else. They just wanted like watermelon and grapes and blueberries and stuff like that. So that's one of those things. It's usually temporary where they only want to eat one thing and they don't want to eat anything else. But again, just make sure you're offering healthy choices. It's not a big deal if it's a temporary situation. Just try to make sure that they're offered a variety of healthy options. If you have a child that's following a vegetarian diet, paying attention to those potential nutrient needs that they would have that they're not potentially not getting enough of in their daily diet, and supplementing as needed. All right, we're moving on to school-age kids. These are kind of like elementary age kids. Again, parents and caregivers should encourage and model healthy habits. They're starting to kind of make their own food choices a little bit, and have their favorites and all of that stuff. But again, modeling and encouraging healthy eating habits in school-age kids is important as well. Sometimes we have kids with that are maybe neurodivergent or have some like different developmental disabilities potentially. So like autistic children tend to be like pretty picky eaters. They fixate on certain food groups and certain types of food. Like maybe they don't like anything that's really crunchy or they don't like anything that's really mushy. It's a texture thing. And in those kids, again, you have to try to encourage them to try other types of foods, at least a couple of bites of other types of their non-preferred food. So try to mix it up with kids who fixate on certain food types, but know that you're not always going to win. So there's that. All right. Childhood overweight and obesity is a big problem. Those rates are rising in school-age children. It has tripled in school-age children and quadrupled in adolescents over the past 40 years, overweight and obesity rates. And it's due to many factors. Too many calories and too little physical activity is a big part of it. A lot of kids drink too much soda and like sports drinks and things like that. They're eating too large portions, and there's a lot less physical activity. Kids spend a lot of time on their screens, and schools are cutting physical education budgets and things like that. So kids aren't getting like recess time or playing outside or going to PE during the day. And so they're moving less and they're eating more and it's contributing to higher rates of obesity in kids, and it has contributed to type 2 diabetes, incredibly high rates of type 2 diabetes in really young kids. And that's what today's or this week's discussion board assignment is going to be looking at, some of the American Academy of Pediatrics recommendations for obesity in young kids. So we're going to kind of be taking a look at that today, or not today, I guess, this week sometime. All right, there's looking at the rates of obesity. So in the 70s, 1976 through 1980, pretty low rates of obesity in children of different age groups, 2 to 5, 6 to 11, and 12 to 19. And you can see they have gotten incredibly high. And this is just 2017 to 2018 is the most recent data we have on that. All right. Nutrient needs for school-age kids. You can set up food plans for kids and guide food choices. You have plans available at myplate.gov if you're looking for a food plan for a kid, a school-age kid. The big key points are eating food from every food group every day, trying to make the healthier choice from each food group every day, make the right choices for you, take healthy eating one step at a time, use healthy fats, so unsaturated fats versus saturated fats there, and then be physically active on a regular basis. As far as trying to get kids to eat healthier, there is the taste approach. Try something new. All forms of fruits and veggies count, so not just fresh, but you can also eat frozen or even canned or dried fruits and veggies. Try cooking them in different ways. If you're getting veggies in, it counts as a veggie. So no matter what you do, try to get the veggies in. Shopping smart for seasonal produce. It's more affordable. Look for specials. Look for sales. When you get your fruits and veggies home, clean them up and cut them so that they're ready to use. Do that right away, because if you just throw the whole head of broccoli in your fridge and you want something quick to eat, or you want to cook something, you probably are at after work and you don't want to have to start from scratch by cutting everything up. So cut it up ahead of time, put it in containers, throw it in your fridge. Turn it into a family activity. Kids love to help. So have them help you shop for stuff. Have them help you cook dinner. They're more likely to eat things that they were involved in. And then E is explore the bountiful variety. So, if you're going out to eat, go somewhere with a salad bar and have them try a variety of different fruits and veggies and things that they maybe wouldn't have had access to prior to that to know whether they like them or not. So try new stuff, explore. All right. The importance of breakfast in school-age kids. Having a nutritious morning meal is super important. It helps wake up the brain and alertness and attention in class and performance academically, psychosocial function, mood. All of that is improved by having a good, nutritious morning meal. It can be associated with healthier body weight, and there are lots of options available for kids to eat breakfast. So some kids maybe don't have breakfast before they leave the house. A lot of schools do offer breakfast when you get there at free or reduced prices, depending on, your socioeconomic status there. So there is a good option for kids to eat breakfast. It's better if they eat breakfast before they leave the house to go to school, but if that's not an option on a given moment or morning, making sure that they get breakfast once they get to school is also important. School lunch programs are vital in providing nutrition for kids during the school year, and also a lot of programs have set up summer programs for kids to be able to get lunch for themselves and family members and stuff during the summer, which is also vitally important, because a lot of kids, the only probably the most nutritious and the most regular meal that they get is their lunch while they're at school. So making sure that kids have access to to at least one healthy meal a day is vitally important during school and during the summer. All right. Now, adolescence, this one's hard. This is the stage of life between the start of puberty and adulthood. Your body's going through a whole bunch of stuff, as we know that we've all been through puberty. It's a trying time physically and emotionally and all of that kind of stuff. This is when kids start to kind of really make their own choices in terms of what they're going to eat. And there's a lot of, social stuff that goes into influencing what a teen is eating and their kind of food behaviors. Defiance of authority also happens during this adolescent period of time where like, you can't tell me what to do kind of stuff that kids go through. So they can that can prompt kids to kind of make and develop negative eating habits. If we're putting a lot of pressure on them to eat healthy and all of that kind of stuff, they can go like, no, I'm going to have nothing but pizza for the rest of my life, and then busy schedules. Kids are like way over scheduled these days. They have like, piano lessons and swimming and athletics and dance and all of that stuff. And so, it makes it hard to sit down and have a family meal. So you might be running through the drive-through at McDonald's more often than you would like at this point, with adolescent kiddos. Needs vitamin D for bone growth. The bone growth in adolescent occurs at the epiphyseal plate, which is a little plate of cartilage between the shaft of the bone and the end of the bone. So having enough vitamin D and calcium in the diet will help make sure the bones are growing strong and healthy. Low calcium and low vitamin D can cause low peak bone mass. So your bones are a little weaker and increase the risk of fractures, like stress fractures and things like that. Also, soft drinks like sodas and diet sodas will displace things like milk in the diet at this stage. And milk is a good source of calcium and vitamin D. So making sure that you account for that. Teenagers who menstruate have higher iron needs because we have a planned bone or a planned blood loss basically every month. So getting enough iron in the diet is really important in adolescence. Adolescents, we start to see increased risk for disordered eating. And we've talked about that in a previous chapter here, but anorexia, bulimia, binge eating disorders, and other behaviors emerge during adolescence, that sort of like pressure to be thin stuff and to be like everybody else kind of really comes into play during adolescence. So that's something you want to pay attention to if you've got, teenage children of any gender. Disordered eating can be a problem for anyone. So paying attention to that is important, and making sure that if you see the adolescent is struggling with their body image or their eating and all of that kind of stuff, you should seek help from mental health professionals. And a good place to start if you don't know where to start is always with your family doctor. All right. Moving into older adults, life expectancy continues to increase a little bit. In 1900, the life expectancy was 47 years of age. That was the average life expectancy of an adult. So that's like 3 years older than I am. I would be considered a really, really old person in 1900. Today, ages 65 and older are the fastest growing segment of the population. A lot of that is due to the baby boomer generation all reaching the older age, the elderly status. We had a really big boom in population then, and they're all getting older now, the baby boomer generation. Puts a lot of strain on the healthcare situation in our country and across the world. But people are living longer because of advances in medicine and healthcare and public health and nutrition and all of that stuff. That's increased our lifespan. So we got a lot more folks that are getting old, much older than that 47-year life expectancy that was at the turn of the 20th century there. As far as nutrition needs for older folks, fewer calories, but not less nutrition. Again, our metabolic rate declines with age, so we don't need as many calories to maintain a healthy weight, but you do want to make sure that you are continuing to eat healthy and getting all the good nutrients that are necessary to build our cells, repair our tissues, reduce risk of chronic disease, keep our immune system functioning, all of that kind of stuff. Older adults need to get adequate fiber and fluids, just like the rest of us, to reduce the risk of constipation and diverticulosis, heart disease, other chronic illnesses. What happens as we get older is that we are hungry less. Our taste buds kind of decline in their ability to pick up flavors, so things don't really taste good. Everything's a little bit more bland as you get older, and you don't feel thirsty as often. So you run the risk of dehydration if you're not being really conscious of maintaining the amount of fluid and food that you're taking in. You want to monitor your micronutrients. So again, don't overconsume vitamin A. It increases risk for osteoporosis and bone fractures. Our ability to make vitamin D from our skin with sunlight decreases, and our ability to absorb in our intestines and our kidneys declines with age. So you have to increase your vitamin D supplementation a little bit. Increases to 20 micrograms for people 70 and older. And then in vitamin B12, over the age of 50, our stomach produces less. This is hydrochloric acid. I would say it's more intrinsic factor, which is what's important for vitamin B12 absorption in the small intestine. As our stomach produces less of that, we absorb B12 much less efficiently as we age over the age of 50. So you can get a synthetic form of B12 that does not require the intrinsic factor for absorption through fortified foods and supplementation after the age of 50. Iron deficiency can be, it's not super common, but if you're not eating enough iron-rich foods, or you have malabsorption issues, or you have intestinal blood loss, like a bleeding ulcer or kidney disease or whatever, a lot of that stuff can lead to iron deficiency problems. Zinc is important for taste and immune system. Calcium absorption declines with age, so you got to increase your calcium to make sure that you can absorb enough of it. And then you want to make sure you reduce your sodium intake, because that can lead to a higher risk of hypertension. All right. Eating right for health and to prevent and manage chronic diseases. So these are some of the things that we have difficulty with in older age. So heart disease and stroke, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, arthritis, Alzheimer's, and cancer. So what do we do about that dietary wise? Fiber and vitamins and minerals in unprocessed foods, whole foods, help prevent age-related stuff like cancer and heart disease. Antioxidants help get rid of free radical damage and oxidative stress on our cells, especially our neurons, our brain, and that can lower our risk of Alzheimer's disease there. But a lot of older adults aren't eating super healthy diets. They're having too much sodium, too much saturated fat, too many calories. That's traditional for basically everybody, every American at every age. You're not getting enough of the varied food groups. You're not getting enough, healthy dairy, fruits, veggies, and whole grains as older adults. So most of us, continue our poor eating patterns into older adulthood as well. Lots of older folks have diabetes and hypertension, which increases risk of heart attacks and strokes. Type 2 diabetes, again, it's on the rise with everybody of every age. So, but as we age, we tend to have poorer ability to control our blood glucose levels. And again, that just results in type 2 diabetes. but most people with type 2 diabetes are overweight or obese. So maintaining a healthy weight throughout your life lowers your risk of type 2 diabetes at any age. Hypertension, high blood pressure is often controlled with medication, but exercise and weight loss can help a lot with hypertension, and also limiting alcohol and sodium intake can help with hypertension. Arthritis, there's two types of arthritis. We have osteoarthritis, which is the wear and tear arthritis. That's the most common type. To some degree, you might benefit from a supplement, a glucosamine and chondroitin supplement, a joint type supplement can help ease some of the pain with osteoarthritis. And then rheumatoid arthritis is an inflammatory autoimmune disease. That's not everyone is going to have rheumatoid arthritis, but with that, omega-3 fatty acids and seafood can help a little bit with that from a dietary standpoint. But with rheumatoid arthritis, you're going to need to see a specialist, a rheumatologist, to get on medications and stuff to manage the rheumatoid arthritis. Alzheimer's disease, which is a form of dementia. Having a healthy diet, physical activity, and a lot of social engagement can help reduce your risk of developing Alzheimer's later in life. So using your brain and being active and using your body as well, and eating a healthy diet lowers your risk of lots of types of dementia. All right. Cancer. Cancer is a big one. There's 100+ different diseases characterized essentially by uncontrolled, irregular cell growth. 41 out of 100 males and 39 out of 100 females in the United States will develop some type of cancer during their lifetime. So 41% risk for males, 39% risk for females. In men, especially older men, the most common type is prostate cancer. And for women 40 and above, breast cancer is the most common type. There's a lot of chemicals and things that we come into contact with that are what we call carcinogens. They're thought to cause a lot of types of cancer. Cancer, there's maybe between 5 and 10% are hereditary cancers. The rest of them are caused by damage to the DNA by these different, physical agents and chemicals. So tobacco is the primary cause of lung cancer, tobacco smoke. But also, so for smokers and also people who are around smokers and come into contact with a lot of secondhand smoke. Alcohol, heavier consumption of alcohol can lead to lots of different types of cancers: neck, breast, colorectal, esophageal, and liver cancers. Overexposure to radiation, like ultraviolet radiation, so not using sunscreen and being outside a lot, skin cancer, and X-rays, being overexposed to X-rays increases the risk for different types of skin cancer as well. Industrial chemicals like nickel, pesticides, benzenes, those chemicals can lead to lots of different types of cancers. And then also there's cancer-causing agents in food and beverages that will lead to development of cancers. So paying attention to your diet and your environmental exposures is a good way to reduce your overall risk for cancer at any age. All right, reducing risk of cancer, you want to have a healthy diet. So phytochemicals like lycopene in plant-based foods, retinols like vitamin A, vitamin D, and folate, omega-3 fatty acids, and fiber. All of those are good things to consume that lower your risk of lots of different types of cancer. Eating a high fiber, low fat diet reduces the risk of cancer, like colon cancers and things like that. So you want to make sure, again, to focus on fiber and plenty of fluids and eating a variety of foods that include lots of fresh fruits and veggies. Diets high in red or processed meats are increasing risks for cancer. So nitrates that are in like cured meats and things like that, and like lunch meats, processed meats, increased risk of cancer. Excess alcohol, high salt content, and excess body weight avoid all of those things. That should, again, lower your risk of developing lots of different types of cancer. All right. Other problems with older adults. Economic and emotional conditions can affect the nutritional health of someone. So older adults typically are on a fixed income, a fixed budget, wherein they have limited access to adequate and nutritious foods. So choosing whether to buy your medications for the month or, getting healthier foods is often a choice older adults have to make. But there was the Older Adults Act that was passed in 1965 that does provide some community supports for folks age 60 and older. And a lot of that includes nutritional education and then congregate meals, which is a congregate meal is where, like at a community center or a church, where they have meals available for older adults that will, one, provide good nutrition for those older adults, but also two, provide them with a social atmosphere where they can come and be around other people and talk and be social. And it's good for their mental and emotional health as well as their physical health. Depression and grief obviously affect nutritional health, and older adults often are going through a lot more loss of, friends and family members as we age. A lot more people die. All of that kind of stuff. For older adults, staying physically active is extremely important. It's a necessity, not an option. Lots of benefits. Lowers risk of chronic diseases, maintains bone, muscle, and joint health, reduces stress, depression, and anxiety, improves the quality of sleep, the flexibility and range of motion. It helps postpone cognitive decline and promotes independent living. The more active you are at every stage of your development, the less likely you are to require help doing different things. So, promotes living on your own longer and not having to go into care facilities as early. Physical activity guidelines for older adults, age 65 and over, 150 minutes of moderate intensity or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity, aerobic activity or the aerobic physical activity or any combination of moderate and vigorous intensity activity per week is important. Muscle strengthening activities, 2 or more days a week. If you can't do those things, do as much as you can and avoid sitting for long periods of time. All right, that is the end of chapter 15. So we will stop here.